Nowadays, it's more and more about putting God first, having Him really, really be number one in my life. Because the more I open up to Him, the more He pours into me. And to me, it's like getting up every day, and when you find something that He's enlightened you on, I want to bring that to you. I want to, those golden nuggets that I find, I want to give them to you so you can place it upon your heart and spread it to others. It's such a joy to learn about the Lord. There are situations where you can read something, a passage in the Bible, and you could have read it 1,000 times. But when you finally are in tune and finally spiritually mature enough to understand what's going on, and God gives you that revelation, and then you go like, wow, it's like a light bulb, just pops off in your head. And to me, it's I can't explain it the way I feel, but I try to convey it to you. And I just want you to see what I'm seeing, to grow like I'm growing, because it's a wonderful thing. It truly is. It's wonderful. So once again, I just want to thank you for staying in there with me, hanging in there with me, and making this thing grow. Because it's all about renewing our minds. Renewing our minds and spreading the word, the gospel, His message, His will. 2 Corinthians 10:12 means this: for we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. This is one of those scriptures that I never really thought about. This is one of those scriptures that I read through, but really didn't take the time to process it. But I finally did, and like I said, it's a revelation. I never thought about, see, here's the thing about scripture. God covers all bases. He covers all bases. We just have to have the wherewithal or the tenacity to find out what applies to our lives. To find out what scripture, because like I said, there is scripture for everything that goes on in our lives. We may not think about it, but God is so awesome. See, our minds, it's so finite. We can't think too far ahead, so to speak. And yes, He's given us the ability to do tremendous things when it comes to inventions and all that other stuff. But I'm talking about when it comes to Him, we limit Him. But when you pick up that Bible and you delve into it, oh wow, it is tremendous. It is tremendous. And like I said, it's our manual, it's our instruction book for life. It truly is. The more you get into it, the more you'll see. I guarantee you. So in case you didn't understand, I'll break it down with a slight variation. We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. There's a saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but yet we do it all the time because we like to compare. We grow up thinking our worth is measured next to someone else's. And we are constantly comparing our barometer to someone else's. And if we don't measure up to that other person, then we become failures in our own minds. But God has designed us individually in our own uniqueness. I'm getting tongue-tied. But we have to have the tenacity to bring it out. But far too often we become lazy when it comes to our own very uniqueness, because we look towards other people instead of our own originality. And we must realize that we can't serve as our own standard because sin has contaminated us. Our only legitimate standard is Scripture. Furthermore, we must be content with the boundaries in which God has placed in us. To live within God-given boundaries is freedom. It maximizes your uniqueness and abilities. And when we try to function outside of those boundaries, it produces frustration. And that frustration often leads to sin. But you know, the funny thing about comparing ourselves to others is that we often flip it. And what I mean is, we expect that same individual, when it comes to morals, to be like us. And when you find out that they're not like you in whatever way, you become horribly disappointed. And when you think about it, that's a big waste of time because we're comparing ourselves to others. But I'll leave you with this. David didn't compare his strength to Goliath. He compared the strength of God, which is infinite, meaning there is no boundaries, no limit to Goliath's. And in so doing, there is no comparison. If we are to do any comparing, we are to do it in the will of God. Enough said.